The year is 2045 and a large crowd has gathered around an arena to watch a battle between two great fighters. There are only 3 minutes left in the round and Novak is at a disadvantage in that fight because Calypso is armed with a pickaxe. His only chance of survival is to perform an evasive maneuver and slowly approach his opponent to strike him. While the crowd is euphoric, Novak concentrates on defeating his enemy and attacks him with synchronized punches and kicks. After taking down his enemy, Novak picks up the pickaxe to eliminate him, as he needs to win the duel to regain his freedom. However, just as the prisoner begins to believe that he is free, another opponent appears in the arena and strikes him with her sword. After making a deep cut in Novak's abdomen, Cutie Pie starts laughing as her enemy's organs jump out. Finally, the woman hits Novak's neck and eliminates the prisoner once and for all. Every week, a new group of gladiators fights for their freedom and the public has the chance to bet on who they think will win. After serving 10 years of a 200-year sentence, Luke Bender is interviewed by a pair of recruiters who ask him if he considers himself rehabilitated. However, Luke refuses to play along and says that he is not fit to live in society. By saying this, he is automatically excluded from the list of possible participants in the arena and taken back to his cell. Then Arturo Perez enters the room and, after serving only 15 years of his life sentence, he claims to consider himself rehabilitated, even after being found guilty of eliminating 57 victims. So the recruiters offer the prisoner a chance to regain his freedom and Arturo signs up to take part in the arena. That night, Luke stares at the photo of his fiancée and begins to rethink the offer made by the recruiters, as this is his only chance to see Ariana again. The following week, Arturo and 9 other prisoners from a state prison prepare to face the arena wars in an attempt to win their freedom. The program features 2 presenters, Samson and Moses, who introduce the audience to this edition's gladiators. Unlike ordinary prisoners, the 7 gladiators, who are part of the most dangerous group of criminals in the country, use special outfits and weapons to help them during the duel. Among them are Calypso and Cutie Pie, who are the oldest members of the team, having been part of the arena since the start of the season. When he learns that he will be facing criminals who have come straight from a maximum security prison, Arturo begins to worry, because he knows that they are even more insane than his comrades. Minutes before entering the ring, Steve is in despair and Arturo tries to calm him down. He tells him that he shouldn't be there, because he's been wrongly imprisoned. However, Arturo knows that he needs to calm down if he wants to get out of that arena alive and advises the young man to focus on the fight. However, before he even has the chance to enter the ring, Steve is hit by flames coming from the ceiling and is completely eliminated. Then the doors open and Nero enters the arena. At that moment, Arturo orders everyone to stay together, because they know that their chance of survival will increase if they work as a team. However, some prisoners cower in the presence of the enemy and try to escape, but end up becoming the first to be eliminated. Before entering the arena, the participants are given an injection and a bomb is implanted in their heads. If they break the rules, the bomb is triggered. When they try to escape, the cowards act against the rules and listen to a 10-second countdown. At the end of this period, the bomb explodes and they are eliminated. After separating into pairs, the prisoners set out to attack Nero, but the man is armed with his blades and hits his opponents in the body. When he sees his allies on the ground, Arturo arranges a joint attack with Goldie and together they manage to defeat Nero. As soon as the man collapses, Arturo steals one of his daggers and goes after the other gladiators. However, when Goldie bends down to pick up the blade, he discovers that Nero is still alive and ends up being eliminated by him. Hearing the screams from the audience, Arturo soon realizes that Nero is alive and hides so that he can carry out a surprise attack. However, just as the arsonist is about to eliminate his opponent, Counter-Strike appears and challenges him to a battle. After exchanging a few kicks with him, Arturo is thrown into the wall and ends up being captured by Meatwagon. With each edition, the participants in the arena wars are eliminated more quickly by the gladiators, which has caused a drop in ratings. What's more, when they hear the criminal records of the prisoners, the public gives up on rooting for them to win, and this has had an impact on the volume of bets. So the show's organizers decide to try something new and try to find a heroic figure to take part in the competition. Because of his background and criminal record, Luke is chosen to play the role. After introducing himself, Desmond, CEO of Clydesdale Industries, orders his security guards to test the candidate's physical abilities. When attacked, Luke immediately strikes back at his opponents and manages to immobilize 2 trained men with ease. At that moment, Desmond realizes that Luke is a great candidate to take part in the arena wars and decides to classify him against his will. The prisoner is a decorated Marine who was blamed by a superior officer and ended up being sentenced to serve 200 years in prison. Despite being unjustly imprisoned, Luke refuses to take part in the competition, but Desmond says he doesn't have many options, since the courts have agreed to increase his sentence to lethal injection. As a result, the Marine has only two options: take part in the arena to have a chance of regaining his freedom and a clean slate, or accept his elimination, which will take place over the next few weeks. As this is the only way to see his fiancée again, Luke agrees to take part in the competition and, the following week, he joins the other 9 prisoners who will fight alongside him. On his way to the Arena Wars headquarters, the Marine meets Khan, a seller of illicit substances who tries to befriend him. While the prisoners undergo physical assessments and examinations, the gladiators are prepared for the next battle. After being attacked by Arturo and Goldie, Nero is seriously injured and taken to the infirmary, where he receives an application of a substance developed by Dr. Harada. The drug was developed with the aim of keeping the gladiators in line and ensuring that they obey the orders of their superiors. The next morning, a few hours before the show starts, Samson and Moses reveal that something unprecedented will happen that night, because for the first time in the history of Arena Wars, an innocent contestant will take part in the battle. When they discover that Luke Bender is an ex-Marine and has been wrongly imprisoned, Khan and the other prisoners ask why he has been sent to the penitentiary, and the man reveals that he has taken the blame for an attempted crime by his superior. After a colonel close to the president tried to eliminate him, Luke had to be arrested instead, and all he asked for in return was the safety of his fiancée and father-in-law. That night, the Marine will enter the arena alongside Billy Chambers, a female MMA champion who is also determined to get out of that place. When the doors open and the team enters the arena, Luke soon smells gas coming from the ceiling and Paris is knocked out by the fire. Just then, Nero appears and the group spreads out to attack the gladiator. After Kiyoshi is hit by the blade, Billy enters the scene and manages to disarm him with a few kicks. The prisoners then manage to immobilize him and take it in turns to hit their opponent. During the fight, Nero hits Gideon on the head and everyone moves away for fear of becoming the next victim. Just then, Luke enters the scene and knocks down the cameraman who was disturbing the battle. When Nero is challenged to a duel, he doesn't think twice about attacking his opponent, but ends up being easily knocked down. When his enemy is on the ground, Luke approaches him and removes his mask, but his moral sense won't allow him to eliminate him. Seeing his ally's hesitation, Jones decides to finish the job and steps on Nero's neck. The team then heads to the second arena and encounters Counter-Strike, who captures Khan and holds him by the neck. When he notices that a member of his team is in danger, Luke immediately strikes the enemy, but the gladiator is wearing a suit that increases his strength and manages to get rid of everyone who tries to get close to him. Seeing the monster walking towards her, Alice throws her wounded colleague on top of him to distract him, and Counter-Strike pierces Kiyoshi's abdomen with his arm. After this insane attack, the gladiator goes after Alice and breaks the woman's neck with his bare hands. Just then, Luke gets up and strikes Counter-Strike, leaving him completely bewildered. Khan then takes the opportunity to strike the enemy with the blade he stole from Nero. In this way, the prisoner manages to eliminate him and Luke tries to take over leadership of the team. As he is the most experienced in battle, he believes that if the team works together they will all make it out alive, but Jones refuses to accept him as leader, as he considers that the Marines showed weakness when he refused to eliminate Nero. At this point, the prisoner tries to provoke him by saying that Luke was weak to accept being unjustly imprisoned, but he doesn't believe it, as he considers that he has made a sacrifice for national security. After saying all the words that had been stuck in his throat, Jones walks away and decides to go on alone to the next stage, but before he advances to the third arena he is hit by Meatwagon. The gladiator was waiting for his victims by the door and eliminated Jones straight away to intimidate the other participants. At this point, Luke once again puts himself forward as team leader and asks if his allies are with him. Hearing the crowd cheer, the inmates decide to join the Marine to form a single team, as they all know that this is the best chance each of them has of surviving. As soon as the group approaches, Meatwagon tries to take them all out with his axe, but ends up being knocked down when Luke and his men join forces to hit him. After stealing the gladiator's axe, Minty eliminates him with a fatal blow, and Luke takes advantage of this victory to reaffirm the public support. Later, while preparing the body of one of the eliminated gladiators for cremation, Dr. Harada talks to Domino and laments the fact that the woman has lost all her cunning and precision with a single injection. Before the start of the fourth round, the competitors are entitled to a rest break, as they are approaching the halfway point. As Luke and his colleagues prepare to advance in the competition, Boggs appears and reveals that Belladonna wants to see them. At this point, the team is directed to the VIP area and Boggs advises them to mingle with the other guests. After managing to throw off all the prisoners taking part in Arena Wars, Belladonna has a private conversation with Luke and says that he is the favorite to win the show. During the conversation, the businessman comments on a promising opportunity that has arisen and asks Luke to meet him in the green room later if he is interested in finding out more. However, when the Marine enters the room, he ends up being surrounded by armed security guards and is knocked down by Domino. Belladonna then appears and reveals that his inbox is full of sponsors thanks to Luke's participation. The TV network where the show Arena Mortal airs is planning to bring forward next week's episode and make a spin-off centered on the Marine. However, Luke immediately refuses to be a part of it, so Belladonna shows him the photo of his fiancée and father-in-law's grave. According to the businessman, the two lost their lives 5 years ago, on Christmas Day, when they were hit by a drunk driver and didn't survive. Upon receiving this news, Luke becomes furious and loses control, so one of Belladonna's security guards knocks him out. Hours later, the Marine is found by Khan and Minty, who take him to the infirmary for medical attention. Boggs then appears and asks what happened. After being pressured to tell the truth, Luke tells him about the spin-off and reveals that his father-in-law and his fiancée have been eliminated. At this point, Billy and her colleagues come together to try to console their companion, and Luke is motivated by his desire for revenge. During all the years he was in prison, the only thing that kept him there was the promise that his father-in-law and his fiancée would be safe. But 5 years ago, when they perished, no one had the decency to break the news to the Marine, so now he's determined to get revenge. That night, Belladonna pays Samson a visit and orders the man to continue the show, no matter what. Upon hearing this, the presenter realizes that something out of the ordinary is about to happen and begins to get apprehensive. As usual, Domino is in charge of injecting the gladiators, and her superiors order her not to forget to inject herself as well. However, instead of following his orders, the woman only pretends to have applied the substance to her neck, as she is gradually regaining consciousness. When the show begins, Luke and his allies enter the stage and are greeted with great joy by the audience, who are excited to see the grand final. A few editions ago, no prisoner managed to survive the arena, but now the audience is confident that the Marine and his team have a good chance of making it out alive. Listening to the crowd, Billy reveals that the cheering made her miss the ring and all the adrenaline she felt during the fights. Suddenly, Holly Days shows up to interview Luke and asks him how he's feeling about the confrontation that's about to take place. The Marine then thanks the show's producers for the opportunity and says he's there to fight for the public. As soon as Holly leaves the arena, Master Blaster appears with a chainsaw and Luke orders his allies to spread out around him. The team's aim is to confuse him and set up an ambush to attack the monster from behind. While the gladiator tries to hit his enemies with the chainsaw, the other team members who are out of sight strike him. After Master Blaster manages to eliminate one of the members of his team, Luke decides to take a chance and approaches him to disarm him. At this point, Billy attacks her opponent with a series of punches, while Khan grabs the chainsaw to cut him in half. Meanwhile, Minty is keeping company with Carl, who was seriously wounded in the stomach during the battle, and is trying to give his friend some comfort in his last moments of life. Noticing that Minty is visibly shaken, Luke tries to encourage him to keep going, as they are getting closer and closer to getting out of that hell. Soon after, the doors open and a monster dressed as a clown appears. The creature is carrying a baseball bat full of spikes and shows great fighting skills. After knocking out some of his opponents, Mr. Smiles is challenged to a duel by Luke, and the Marine manages to knock him out with a kick. When she sees her enemy on the ground, Billy gets up and, after throwing a few punches, she picks up the baseball bat to knock him out. Watching this excellent teamwork, the spectators stood up to applaud them, and Billy continued the attack. The MMA fighter is furious at having been injured during the fight and takes all her anger out on Mr. Smiles. However, when he realizes that the gladiator has already been eliminated, Luke tries to calm her down and hands the chainsaw to Khan, because they need to get this over with. A few years ago, Boggs also took part in arena wars and managed to survive. After that, he won his freedom and was hired to work behind the scenes on the show. Having been in that ring before, he knows how hard it is to survive, and he's rooting for the prisoners to win. When he meets Calypso, Khan attacks him with his chainsaw, but ends up being knocked down. The same happened to Billy, who didn't even have the chance to get close enough to the gladiator to hit him with her punches. In an attempt to avenge what they did to Carl, Minty jumps on his opponent's back, but can't hold him off for long. After freeing himself from the blow to the neck, Calypso is about to eliminate the prisoner with his pickaxe, but is stopped by Luke, who manages to grab his arm. Unlike the gladiators the team has faced before, Calypso is a veteran and has remained undefeated in the arena since the previous season. While Khan tries to take him down and fails miserably, Billy strikes her enemy in the back and manages to take him down. At this point, everyone joins in to punch and kick Calypso, but the attack is interrupted by the arrival of Cutie Pie, who strikes Luke with her sword. Seeing his friend wounded, Khan immediately rushes to help him and Billy becomes the next target. The gladiator hits her opponent's wound and, after knocking her down, goes after Minty. When he realizes that Luke is suffering from the injuries to his back, Khan hands him some pills to help him endure the severe pain, and the Marine waits a few seconds for the substance to take effect. After being anesthetized, Luke gets up and holds Calypso so that Billy has a chance to take the pickaxe. Just then, the man is hit once again and can't stay on his feet. Seeing her sparring partner being defeated, Cutie Pie tries to eliminate Luke with her sword, but the man blocks her blows and then steals the gladiator's weapon. After cornering his enemy in the wall, Luke hits her with her own sword and the woman starts begging for her life. At this point, Belladonna realizes that something is wrong, because the substance that is injected into the gladiators' necks should turn them into beasts that only follow the orders of their superiors. Not understanding what's going on, the businessman asks if Domino has taken her injection and the woman says yes. However, when one of the security guards asks for a blood sample, the woman hesitates and her cover is blown. Domino immediately grabs her gun to eliminate the security guard and take Belladonna hostage. However, the businessman manages to steal the pistol from Domino's hands and says that if it hadn't been for him, she would have lost her life in the arena. Before being arrested, the woman was a sniper for hire, so instead of wasting her talents, Belladonna decides to transfer her back to the arena. Hearing Cutie Pie cry, Luke decides to give her a chance to explain herself and discovers that none of the gladiators are in that arena of their own free will. The truth is that the organizers use substances developed by Dr. Harada to force the criminals to obey, and in this way they manage to control them. Just then, Belladonna enters the ring and eliminates Cutie Pie with one shot. To make sure Luke follows his orders, he takes Boggs hostage and the Marine reminds the man that there are thousands of people watching the show at that moment. While the businessman makes a speech explaining why he sponsored that sick game to try to clear himself of future charges, Billy takes Master Blaster's chainsaw and cuts his body in half. After being rescued by the prisoners, Boggs uninstalls the chips that have been implanted in their heads so that they can regain their freedom. Now that the show has come to an end, Boggs leads the team out and the audience is even more eager to watch the next episode, because no one was expecting that plot twist. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.